The 2025 season is here. Rams versus Texans, week one at SoFi Stadium. How are the Rams going to win this opening day game? Well, we'll talk about that next on this Keys to Victory episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. If you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to our channel, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any video throughout this entire 2025 season. And if you're on the audio only or podcast only side of things, share this audio, share this podcast with all your friends. Any of those options helps other Rams fans to see our content. And me and Mark, we very much appreciate it. But yes, we made it to game week, Mark, my fellow Ramley. I'm so freaking excited. And if any of you will be at the game, I will be there with family. I'm looking forward to this thing so much. But Mark, how you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, it's game time, right? Almost there, and gonna get into that heartbeat once again of pumping out the content on a daily basis, hopefully. And then the Sunday afternoon stress sets in, coming up to kickoff. That's I always find these games so stressful. I don't care who we're playing. I don't care what week it is. Man, it's going to be fun though. I have high hopes for this team, and hopefully we get off to a really good start against the Texans.
Yeah, I hope so too. And this is a big game. I think a lot of people nationally haven't absorbed that this is a really good matchup. Objectively, take our fandom, take the Rams fandom out of it, take even the Houston fandom out of it. I think if you're just a fan of good sports matchups, this should be a good one. You got two teams that were final 8 teams from last year. Houston losing to the Chiefs in the divisional round, and then our Los Angeles Rams losing to the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. But hey, both teams losing to the teams, Chiefs, Eagles, that ended up representing both conferences in the Super Bowl. I find that very interesting as well, if you think about it. But, oh, guys, week one is here. And, man, I am just so freaking excited. But first, let's talk about the history between these two teams. And I think it's important to pull up at least the last 5 games. But before we do that, what is the totality? How have the Rams and Texans fared against each other in this history? Well, let's pull up the fun graphic here. As you can see, you got your Los Angeles Rams 4-1 against the Houston Texans, with obviously Houston being 1-4. And yes, Houston has not been around a long time, so their history isn't dating back 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years like other teams that we'll face throughout the year. But not bad. Not a bad record against any foe. 4-1, Mark.
Yeah, and there was some memorable games we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, the Rams have had their number. And remember, these are the two teams talking about what a great matchup it is. These are the two teams I picked each other in the Super Bowl last year. And here they are opening weekend of 2025. But this Texans team that we're playing Sunday might be the best Texans team the Rams have ever faced.
Yeah, and I have to definitely agree. But let's pull up those last 5 matchups that they've ended up facing each other here. So if you're here on YouTube, you can follow along on this graphic. The last 5 matchups. 2005, the St. Louis Rams beat the Houston Texans in overtime. What a fun game that was. 2009 was the only loss to the Houston Texans as St. Louis Rams, 16-13. Then 2013, Jeff Fisher's Rams, I believe, beat Houston convincingly and smacked them around pretty bad. And then in the Sean McVay era, if you remember, that was one of the first, real glimpse of like, okay, this offense under McVay is legit. McVay's, rookie head coaching season. That was when Robert Woods had that big 90-plus yard bomb. Jared Goff had a play action and launched it to Robert Woods. He threw up the SC peace sign, the Tyreek Hill peace sign. That was a great moment in Rams history, just kicking off like, all right, this team's pretty good. And then in 2021, the Super Bowl season, that is when our Rams kicked their ass. And let's pull that matchup up. That was the last time we played each other. The Rams then 7-1 against the 1-7 Houston Texans, as that one finished 38-22 in October 30th of that, or 31st of that 2021 Super Bowl season. Matthew Stafford had 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's when Darrell Henderson was our lead guy. He had 90 rushing yards and a touchdown. Triple Crown Prime Cooper Kupp had a 7 for 115 and a receiving touchdown. And then on their end, Davis Mills was their QB, threw for 310, had his interception and a couple touchdowns. Rex Burkhead was their leading rusher. And then old friend Brandon Cooks was their top dog wide receiver back then. So, I mean, Mark, what a completely different world both teams were in back in 2021.
Yeah.
Played.
And in that game, Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel combined for 165 yards rushing. And I want to do a go back here. That play to Robert Woods, I still remember that because I don't know if you recall, Clowney was on that Texans team, right? And on that play, Clowney was coming off the edge, and you could hear the audio, the game audio picked up one of the Texans coaches yelling, "That's a hold." And it probably was. I might have been Havenstein or a tight end. Got a hold of Clowney, allowing Goff to get rid of that ball. It was pretty funny. The Rams are going to win that game.
Back in that 17 match you're talking about, right? Back in 2017.
Right. Yeah. Going back to that 95-yard pass. That's a hold. And
I remember that too. So, yeah, long story short, Rams Nation, the last 2 games in the McVay era, that's the only 2 times we played them in Sean McVay's career, we've whooped their butt. Right. Garbage time touchdown made that 38-22 2021 matchup closer. And then obviously 33-7 is an ass whooping. And the Rams overall, no matter who it's been at head coach or the players, they've been the Houston Texans. But again, they haven't played a gazillion times. They are a new franchise in terms of team history in the entire NFL. And the history with them being an AFC team, Rams don't play AFC teams very often. At least the same one, unless the cards fall that way. So, hey, not bad. Not bad at all. As again, the last matchup in 2021, 38-22. Still have Matthew Stafford, still have a lot of good players from that team, which is nice for sure. But, I mean, Mark, overall, just your quick thoughts on the Texans as a franchise. Do you think they're well ran?
Well, they seem to be now. I mean, I don't know much about their, their front office leadership, but they made a good hire. They nailed it on their head coaching hire, and they've nailed it on some draft picks, right? C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson. So they're doing a lot of things right. And this year's draft, I like their draft picks this year as well. So I would say the last couple of years they've made a lot of really, really good decisions, and that's why they're one of the top teams in the AFC right now.
Yeah, and they've definitely gone through the moments of darkness, right? We played them a couple times in their darkness era, right? And then they had good years with Deshaun, and then he couldn't help himself during massages, and that went to crap. And Houston bailed from him, got C.J. Stroud, got Will Anderson, have rebuilt the team, got D'Amico Ryans, and they're in a good spot. They are a legit, well-ran, well-coached, well-assembled roster team. And speaking of that roster, I think it's important that we highlight their roster as a whole, right? Who are the guys that are out there going to be facing your Los Angeles Rams, our Los Angeles Rams offense, defense, and then the specialists? So let's pull that up, Rams Nation. As the Texans offense here, we got with a red dot next to them. So going forward, for anyone out there, if you see a red dot next to a player's name in these roster breakdowns, that means they made a Pro Bowl. And if you see a green dot next to a player's name, that means they've been an All-Pro before as well. So Pro Bowl quarterback C.J. Stroud, former Pro Bowl running back Nick Chubb, as Joe Mixon is dealing with an ankle injury, and he is on an injured list or the NFL What's the other list, Mark? Forgive me for not remembering.
The pup.
Pup, and there's a bunch of others too. Joe Mixon's on one of them. So he will not be available for this game and for the next month at least. So Nick Chubb is the starting man, former Pro Bowler. Then you got Nico Collins, as he's emerged as a legit wide receiver. He's a Pro Bowler. Then you got Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, who me and Mark really liked when we were breaking down and ranking the receivers that the Rams should maybe target in the second or third round. Then you got Dalton Schultz, the former Cowboy, who's been a productive player. Then you got Arionte Ursay. If I said that name wrong, apologies. Mark, you can correct me on that. Then you got former 49er and Jet Lincoln Tomlinson, who's been a Pro Bowler in his career. Then you got Jake Andrews at center, Ed Ingram at right guard, and then Titus Howard at right tackle. Then you see the backups. Davis Mills, he's used to, not beating the Rams. And you got Damian Pierce as the backup. He had a nice season not that long ago at the running back position, over 1,000 yards. Xavier Hutchinson. And then the other Iowa State wide receiver, Jalen Knoll, who is another guy me and Mark liked as a target for the Rams in round 2 or 3, if I remember serves me correctly. Then you have the other backups, Cam Robinson, Jared Patterson, Blake Fisher, et cetera, et cetera. Cam Robinson, a notable backup there on the O-line. But Mark, I'll ask you this without getting into heavy details on specific players. I mean, just looking at the roster or the depth chart as a whole, how do you feel about this Texans offense?
Well, they have two edge rushers, Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter, that combined for 23 sacks last year. Hunter not
Oh yeah,
much.
we'll get to them. Don't worry, we'll get to them.
You're strictly offense. Well, I think
Yeah.
we can be very thankful Tank Dell. I mean, I never like to root for injuries, but you throw Tank Dell into this mix, man, this is a really tough wide receiver group to deal with. But the one thing that could be a weakness here, it remains to be seen, is offensive line. Last year they gave up, I think it was 54 sacks, and they've replaced 4 of them. So this is a newly constructed offensive line that could be pretty good, but I think it's going to be a point of emphasis for the Rams trying to attack this, get to CJ Stroud. We'll talk about that more in the keys to victory, but
Yeah.
offensive line is the one question mark. But other than that, you look at the wide receivers and the quarterback and the running backs. And you mentioned Damian Pierce. Remember, he was the rage of the league a couple of seasons ago, his rookie year. And he's been kind of relegated to a backup role, but he's still a dangerous running back. So with Joe Mixon out, I don't think it's a big drop off to Chubb and Pierce.
No, not at all. And think about that. That's their second and third running back. Pretty crazy,
Yeah.
man. That's a really good room. And, you know, to all the Nick Chubb, former believers and people who were always enjoyed his running style. I was a fan of him. Just the way he played, heart and soul of the Browns. Is he going to be, oh my God, Pro Bowler, holy crap, Nick Chubb? Hopefully not. But if there's any time it's going to happen, it's when he hasn't gotten smacked around for a bunch of weeks in a row, and it's week 1, right? So we'll see what version of Nick Chubb we get. Do we get the last glimpse of before multiple knee injury Nick Chubb, Brown style, or do we get an older veteran, still effective, but not as holy crap? Hopefully it is that version, not the borderline all-pro guy. But just a quick thought on that guy. As luckily no Joe Mixon, but Nick Chubb still formidable, and we'll find out how formidable very, very soon. But let's move on to the defense, Mark. As they got some dogs over there. Let's be real about it. Texans defense. Again, red dots mean Pro Bowl players or former Pro Bowl players. Defensive end, Will Anderson Jr., a former defensive rookie of the year, just like our Jared Verse. You got Mario Edwards Jr. at D tackle. You got Sheldon Rankins at D tackle. And you got Daniil Hunter, a Pro Bowler, at the other DN spot. Someone who we advocated for the Rams to sign and get and trade for when he was available. Azeez Al-Shaair, the hard-nosed, run-stuffing linebacker. Then Henry To'oTo'o, if I said that right, hopefully, the other linebacker. Derek Stingley Jr., as a lot of people thought he was not better than Sauce Gardner when them two got drafted. And then Derek Stingley is the better corner right now. He's a Pro Bowl player. And then you got Kamari Lassiter at the other corner spot. Nickel, you got Jalen Petrie, Kalen Bullock at safety, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who we thought had a serious injury. And he'll be good to go this week. And then you can see Derek Barnett rotate in, former first round pick or second round pick, if my memory serves me correctly. Apologies on that. Then you'll maybe see a little bit of Jalen Smith, the rookie, maybe a little bit of MJ Stewart also rotating in the back end there. But your thoughts overall, without getting too specific, Mark, about the guys on the outside, this Texans defense and how you feel about it.
Well, I guess I'll make 2 points. It's obvious that these Anderson and um, Hunter are going to be an issue, and we're going to have to deal with them. We have
Yeah.
to keep Stafford clean, but I also think the secondary overall is one that matches up pretty well with the Rams receivers. So hopefully Sean McVay has some magic drawn up to beat these guys in the passing game with some big plays, perhaps. I think Tutu could be the difference maker. But this is a solid defense. We're going to have to run the ball and kind of neutralize the pass rush that these guys bring. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, overall, my thoughts on this Texans defense. It's a fantastic unit, coached by D'Amico Ryans, who, let's be real, his time with the 49ers, he's whooped Sean McVay's ass, other than that NFC Championship game, and that was still a dogfight where we luckily made some good plays and uh, defensive plays by Aaron Donald and some great throws by Matthew Stafford and et cetera, et cetera. But, all the other games were not good other than that NFC Championship game going to the Super Bowl back in 2021. So I expect this roster to be coached up incredibly well. They have a great overall defense. Let's be honest. The whole starting unit is legit. This defense should be competing to be top 10 if they're all healthy and play up to their potential. Every single starter you see there. They got, the quote unquote dirty playing linebacker that you want in any good defense, right? You got the edge rushers, you got this, the stout D tackles that have played good football in their past, and then you got a really good young secondary that could, play that quote unquote Seattle 3 or that Seattle cover 3 defense, and then Derek Stingley can lock guys up in man to man too, which is the added bonus. So this Texans defense is good, everyone. Long story short. But how about the specialists, Mark? No, does anybody really care about the long snapper and the holder? No disrespect, Austin and Tommy there. But hey, their punt returner, Braxton Berrios, who's done a good job throughout the league about his time with various teams. Kick returner, speaking of a guy, to worry about, Damian Pierce. He's ripped off some big runs in the kick return game in his past couple seasons as a Houston Texan, outside of him just running the football. Then you got Tommy Townsend at punter, and then Pro Bowl kicker Kaimi Fairbairn, as he has a good leg and he can make from 50-plus yards. So, your thoughts on the specialist? Obviously, more leaning towards the punt, kick return, and then the kicker, Fairbairn, Mark.
Yeah, I think this game could be decided on special teams. We hear that all the time, but
Yeah.
Joshua Carty versus Fairburn. I think as good as these two defenses are capable of playing, we may see both teams settling for some long field goals. So yeah, Fairburn's certainly a weapon for them in that regard.
Yeah, he is. So just because, hey, we get a good third down spot, but if they get over that 50-yard line, they pass the Rams logo at midfield. Fairbairn's got the leg, and I'm sure D'Amico Ryans will trust him to be like, hey, let's attempt this 58-yarder, let's attempt this 55, et cetera. You know what I mean? So they got a weapon there. And then with now the new kickoff rules, how do they play it with Damian Pierce? He's had kick return touchdowns in his past. He's had big runs. He's got that explosive nature as a running back that suits this new kickoff role, right? You hear a lot of coaches say it is very run offensive looking, the way guys set up for blocks, the way lanes open up. So it fits his skill set, significantly. And I think that's got to be a guy you got to worry about in that kick return game. And obviously Barrios with the punt return too, but especially kick return, as McVay has, not given a crap about the kick return. And now he's going to have to. Do we want the Texans offense to start at the 35-yard line? No, we do not. So we're going to have to kick it and let Damian Pierce run it back. But how do we cover that? And I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. So they got a good specialist unit for sure, Mark. I think they do. I think they do. But that was the Texans roster as a whole, Rams Nation. But how about the Texans' best players, right? Who are 5 players on this roster that were like, All right, let's circle that dude, that dude, that dude, that dude, and that dude. We got to watch out and find out where the hell they are every single play and try to neutralize them as best as possible. Well, we got our 5 right here for your Rams Nation. As the Texans' best players in our eyes go as such: wide receiver Nico Collins, cornerback Derek Stingley Jr., quarterback CJ Stroud, defensive end Daniil Hunter, and defensive end Will Anderson Jr. No doubt about it, those 5 guys are their best players. I don't even think it's debatable, truthfully. Now, does someone emerge and become an all-pro randomly from a team? Yeah, of course. But these guys are the guys, right, Mark? So we'll start with Nico Collins. And your thoughts on him, Mark. I mean, how do you feel about him and what he could do and what he has done in the league and what we're trying to avoid as a Rams defense?
Yeah, and it all comes back, in my opinion, to the Rams' ability to keep CJ Stroud uncomfortable. Because if CJ Stroud
Yeah.
is able to extend plays, move around in the pocket, the Rams can't bring pressure. Nico Collins is going to do his damage. I think that's the whole. I think this Rams pass defense is built on that premise that our cornerbacks are serviceable, decent players. Sometimes they have really good games, but if we have quarterbacks that are allowed to sit back there and let plays develop, guys like Nico Collins have the potential to torch us. So,
Yeah.
I assume it's probably going to be Witherspoon getting the primary duty on Collins. Would you agree with that? Is that how
I
you
would
see
hope
it?
so. Yeah.
Right. So, Akilo, he's shut down, some very good wide receivers in the past, but I really think it comes down to being able to get to CJ Stroud and Jared Verse and Byron Young doing their magic and keeping him uncomfortable because CJ Stroud and Nico Collins can they have the potential to manufacture some really big splash plays otherwise.
Yeah, Nico Collins, for everyone out there, he only played in 12 games as he was dealing with a leg injury of some sorts. I'm blanking on it. Apologies, everyone out there. So he played in 12 games. He had 68 catches for over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he missed significant time and still balled out, right? That's averaging right there, 14 yards, almost 15 yards a catch. He had, gosh, this dude isn't really freaking awesome. He had a 67-yard long reception. He had average about little under 6 yards, or excuse me, 6 catches per game. And the guy is an all-around fantastic receiver. He has the ability to run past every single secondary member in our defense. And Akelo's our fastest guy, but Nico Collins has the ability to run right by him. He does. Now, we'll see how fast Emmanuel Forbes Jr. is. Maybe he's got some extra speed that we haven't seen unleashed. We'll find out how much he plays or doesn't play, and we'll see how that unfolds week 1. But Nico Collins has that ability to torch all of our guys. He does. So how do we bracket him? How do we pick and choose to play man? Do we just go bracket zone coverage where it's like you're double covering him, but it's not like punt where 2 guys are lined up close to Nico Collins? It'll kind of be like one guy's off centered, and it's like, hey, if he goes this way, then we'll both get him. If he goes that way, and he's only yours, it gets very nitty gritty with that. But I'll be interested to see: do they man to man in certain situations? Do they man the whole game? Which that's not wise. Do they bracket coverage, right? Kind of zone double coverage in that way, or they just play their zone and they say let the cards may fall. It'll be interesting to see with Nico Collins, but he's got that ability to really screw us and damage us in the passing game for sure. But who's throwing him the passes? Well, yeah, quarterback CJ Stroud. I know, Mark, you talked about him a little bit, but I mean, your overall thoughts on him as a quarterback, and did you think he had a down year, or do you think it was because Nico was hurt? Um, Tank Dell got hurt. Stephon Diggs got hurt early in the year, and the O line sucked. Let's be honest about it. Your
Yeah,
overall
I
DJ as a quarterback and just how he was last year, despite those circumstances. Sorry.
yeah, I think you nailed it. He's still a very good quarterback, and there was a lot going against him last year. And I expect him, if this offensive line holds up, he's going to be back to his old self. And I have a theory too. I think Jaden Daniels made us forget about CJ Stroud a little bit, right? I
Yeah.
mean, back-to-back years, two rookie quarterbacks just tearing it up. But I think, yeah, he's got what it takes, and Rams just got to make him uncomfortable as possible. Although, the run game is going to be a big part of that as well. I expect them to test us in the run game, and that we'll have to shut that down, or everything falls apart for us. But yeah, he's still got what it takes. He's a very good quarterback. I think last year there's a lot of reasons. It's understandable that he'd have a little bit of a drop off with the injuries and the offensive line play.
Yeah. And for all the stat heads out there, how did he do last year in 2024? He passed for 3,727 yards, again, with a bad offensive line, with his starting trio wide receivers all being hurt at the same time, different times. It was a mess. Threw for 20 touchdowns, and he had the 12 interceptions. But there's so many people out there. I see this with even the national insiders, or even the national analysts, and et cetera, where there's like, yeah, CJ Stroud had a whatever aggression, man. He just did not play good. I'm like, guys, you got to watch the film. With those circumstances, he did as best as he could. Would Matthew Stafford have done any better? Oh, wait a minute. We lived that scenario last season as well.
Yeah.
Beat up O-line, your top wide receivers hurt, various points, et cetera, et cetera. And was it pretty? Absolutely not. And let's ask any other player, quarterback, or other fan of another team if their quarterback and top wide receivers and O-line were all in flux and a mess for various reasons. And if your quarterback was still outstanding. So I say all that to say, based on the film, based on those circumstances, CJ Stroud's still a Pro Bowl level quarterback, and he is someone to fear. He looks up to Matthew Stafford, right? He was that one clip where he's like, "Oh, Matthew Stafford's a dog." He's like, "That's all I watch. That's the only quarterback I watch." And no looks, et cetera. I remember he was like, "Yeah, if Matthew Stafford went to a good team, or he went to the Packers, he would have more rings than Aaron Rodgers." So shout out
Yeah.
to you, CJ, for saying all that way back when. If any of you Ramley out there remember those comments, but CJ is legit. He studies our quarterback. He has some of those no-look stuff I've seen in training camp clips this past, couple of months. And the guy's a good quarterback. We have to fear him. Zone, man beater, good arm, mobile, maybe not a runner, but he can take off and get yardage. The guy's legit. The guy's legit. But who else is pretty dang legit too, who people didn't think really was, and I was kind of in that boat to start, with his career. That'd be cornerback, or defensive back, Derek Stingley Jr. As again, people thought that Sauce Gardner was far and away way better than him that rookie year, where he was taken before Sauce Gardner. But funny how things have flipped, as Derek Stingley has shown to be quite the baller. So, I mean, Mark, your thoughts on him as a corner and how he can affect our offense, Derek Stingley Jr.
Well, when you have a corner like that, and we don't, to be quite frank, you have a corner like that that you can just, you know, if that's how you want to use them, to take away a wide receiver, to take away a side of the field, it just opens up so many other uh, possibilities for your defense, the way your defense can attack the opposition. And he's one of those guys. And I hate going against teams that have cornerbacks like that, because
Yeah.
we've seen it with our wide receivers, just disappearing for a game when they go up against guys like this. And there aren't many cornerbacks like that in the league, maybe four or five, and Stingley's one of them. And I'm just going to have to hope that Sean McVay has drawn some special stuff up to neutralize Stingley, and maybe we'll have some splash plays against the secondary. But yeah, he's an incredible player.
Yeah, an incredible player, no doubt about it. This was his best season as a pro, no question, in 2024. He had 54 combined tackles, and then he had the 5 interceptions to go on top of it. And the dude was fantastic. Great in zone, right? Whether it be cover 2 playing short, cover 3 playing more deep, whether that be bracket coverage, a combination coverage, whether it would be, hey, we need you to blitz, we need you to run. And then his special trait is, hey, I can lock you down. I can run stride for stride with your best pass catcher. Whoever you think is the fastest, the shiftiest, the best route runner, I can handle them. And that is, like you said, Mark, a special skill and a special player to have, and Houston has it in him. So, hey, whether he's going to be on Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, we know we like to motion guys, and I'm sure we'll do tons of motion to be able to get Derek Stingley to give away, whether he's in man-to-man with a certain player or just the Texans defense overall, or that motion to free up Devontae Puka or Tutu to be like, hey, we don't want Derek Stingley to get his hands on him and start running, hip pocket to hip pocket and lock him up. I'm sure Sean McVay has some ways to get it done, hopefully. But this guy is legit. No freaking doubt about it. But you know who else is pretty dang legit on that defense? Who is a player me and Mark really, really wanted last year. And we're like, yeah, trade for him, please. But we got Jared Verse in it working out. But that would be defensive end Danielle Hunter, as he was with the Minnesota Vikings for a long time, kicking ass there. Then he said, you know what? I want to go back to my hometown of Houston. So he ended up choosing the Houston Texans, and he had a fantastic year playing DN for the Texans. So, I mean, Mike, your thoughts on him and how can he wreck our offensive game plan?
Well, what stands out about him to me is just the consistency, right? The production year in and year out. He's been such a steady producer in the sack department. And pairing him up with the next guy we're going to talk about, yeah, it's a dangerous duo. And he was one of the guys that was on our list. Hey Rams, let's go out and add a big impact player for another Super Bowl push. Didn't work out. He's in with the Texans. We get to see him firsthand Sunday. But yeah, what are you going to say? He's a great player.
Yeah, fantastic player. And how did he finish in 2024 overall stat wise? Well, he had 12 sacks. Pretty dang good, as he has been a sack quarterback master for many, many years with Minnesota. So no drop off there. He had his 46 combined tackles. He played all 17 games. Injuries weren't an issue. He had 17 tackles for loss, 23 quarterback hits, and then those 31 solo tackles. So this guy is a freak of nature. The way he looks, the way he's got the power, he's got that bend off the edge. I mean, the dude is awesome, which is why me and Mark clamored for the Rams to trade for him and get him last offseason. But, again, we got Jerry Versal. The universe worked
Yeah.
out. But Danielle Hunter
And
is that guy. He can absolutely wreck a game by himself with power, with the speed, with the combination of the two. So this guy has to be accounted for, whether he lines up closer to the tackle or way outside, where it's almost like, where is he going? He's almost lined up like a slot corner or something. Not that far out, but almost. And you just let him go full steam ahead and try to barrel into the tackle, get to the quarterback or beat him with speed. He definitely has those skill sets. And that is
yeah,
somebody
yeah,
we have to watch out for on
and he
defense,
comes in.
especially that
He
front.
comes into this game with 99 and a half sacks. So hopefully he'll leave with less than 100. And
Oh,
yeah, 5-time Pro Bowler.
I mean, hitting the 100 career sack mark, I mean, you're legit, dude. Like, you
Yeah,
are
right.
a great player. And
Yeah.
hopefully we keep him there at 99 uh, for at least one more week. You can break it in your next game, Daniil, please. But you know what else is pretty freaking kick ass? The other defensive end, former defensive rookie of the year, and that would be defensive end Will Anderson Jr. As you weren't super worried about Daniel Hunter, well, you can worry about this guy. And so, I mean, Mark, your thoughts on this other edge rush defender, and your thoughts on him and what he could do.
Yeah, another Alabama product. Yeah, defensive rookie of the year, like you already said, Pro Bowler player in 2023 as well. And yeah, when you compare two guys like this off the edge, and we're kind of doing the same thing. I don't know. I don't know how if Young actually measures up to these two, but Jared Verse probably does. But man, it's pretty impressive. Not too many teams can bring that type of heat off both edges. And that's one thing that elevates his defense. Yeah, he's just getting started. I think we're going to be hearing about him for years to come. Great player.
Yeah, we're gonna hear about him for for many years. It feels that way. I agree. So, what were his stats, Rams Nation? He had one forced fumble, Well, let me back up. He only played in 14 games. He had some moments where he was banged up, so he did not play in all 17. He played in 14 regular season games and obviously was around for the playoff tournament. But okay, one forced fumble. He had 37 combined tackles, 27 of them solo, 10 of them assists. And then he had 11 sacks in 14 games. That is pretty dang incredible, right? So this guy, very similar to Daniil Hunter, a guy who plays with a lot of power, but you're starting to see him get some moves. He's able to get a good swim move. He's that you're starting to see some just more versatility in his pass rush, right? The spin, the club, and swim. You say just a straight bull rush. You see him have some good power. And then sometimes things get a little wacky. They will drop him in the coverage, even though that's not very typical of a 4-3 defense, which is what the Texans run, different from ours. But he can do that too, as he did that a ton of Alabama. He has that athleticism. He can run down ball carriers, quarterbacks, running backs, etc. He sets the edge really well. I mean, just an overall kick-ass defensive end or edge rushing, edge defender football player. So the two guys on the outside, the corner on defense for the Texans, and then no shock, the quarterback and the top dog wide receiver are the best players for this Texans team, and they got some good guys, man. Right, Mark?
Yeah, when you stack them up like that, it makes for a scary a scary game for the Rams when you start looking at these top dogs for these teams, man. And it's just a reflection of how well they've drafted, right?
Yeah.
And some decent free agent signings as well in the case of Hunter. Solid roster, and you look at the top end of the roster, some really, really accomplished guys. It's gonna be a tough game.
I'm so freaking lootly. But with all that said, what are those keys to victory to beat these Houston Texans, right? No one's invincible. People have weak spots. Teams have weak spots. There are ways to exploit those and even neutralize, their best players. So, I mean, I'll start with you, Mark. Go any way you want. Offense, defense, kicking game, special teams, anything super specific. The floor is yours. Mark, what are your keys to victory to beat these Houston Texans?
Well, I always shy away from the basic stuff, no big turnovers and,
Yeah, of
you
course.
know, um, that kind of stuff. But I going into this season, I thought what teams were going to do is make the Rams prove they could stop the run. But with mixing out, and the way this Texans offense is built, I don't know if that's going to be the case. Sure, they're going to run the ball, but I think they're going to try to exploit the Rams secondary. Hopefully, they can protect C.J. Stroud and get some big splash plays. So, what I'm getting at is not so much stopping the run. It's always important, obviously, but I think the Rams have to find a way to make C.J. Stroud uncomfortable early on and rattle him a little bit if possible, maybe force a turnover, a couple 3 and outs, keep especially early in the game, keep the pressure on, Verse, Kobe Turner, all these guys, Braden Fisk, have to just find a way to get in his face and contain the pocket. Like you said, he's not really necessarily a running quarterback, but he's really good at extending plays, so they have to have a disciplined pass rush at the same time, containment, pressure, get in his face, force him to get rid of the ball quickly.
Yep, that's a good one. Anything defensively?
Well, defensively, as far as the Rams attacking their
Correct.
defense,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, I think you know it's all about a lyric. Obviously, it's really scary throwing a lyric out there with these two pass rushers, and a lyric's got to hold up, and we've got to protect. It's kind of the flip of the same thing. Got to keep Matthew Stafford clean, and I expect there's going to be times where the Texans are going to frustrate the hell out of us, and we're going to have our share of 3 and outs, and we're going to have our share of sets of downs that just look horrible. And that's because this Texas defense is really good. But the lyric's going to have to hold up for the most part. They're probably going to get some heat on Stafford at some point, but it's all about protection, especially at the left. I'm worried. I don't know if it's necessarily a key to the game, but it's something I'm worried about. The combination of Lyric getting very little, Lyric and Stafford getting very little playing time. That can't be a good thing. It's going to be a problem for us, I think. And maybe they need to make sure Lyric has some help there. They got to keep Stafford clean. You know, I don't know how serious this back thing is, but the last thing we want is Alaric Jackson to struggle against the likes of Daniel Hunter in the opening game, right?
Yeah.
And another way to deal with that, of course, is run the ball effectively. And this team with this interior offensive line, I think we can. Now, one of the things I mentioned the other day, and maybe you can chime in on this, one of the ways we can beat a team like the Texans is, ground and pound. But I feel like Bo Limmer would be better suited for that in a game like this over Coleman Shelton. Coleman Shelton's probably better as far as making sure your pass protection is all squared away pre-snap. But that's one thing the Rams should and could do in this game is get Dotson and Avila rolling with the running backs behind him and just play some smash mouth run football.
Yep. I like all those for sure. And let's start with that Rams offense versus Texans defense for my keys to victory. There's no doubt about it. Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson are going to have their moments where they're going to whip our offensive line's ass. And if it ends up not being the case, then our O line is top 5. Like, no question. Right? But okay, let's go down the world where, hey, they're going to get us and it's bound to happen. How do you neutralize that as most as possible? Well, to your point, have a good run game. How about don't run at those guys? You run up the middle with those other 2 D tackles as we pull up real quick their starting defense. Again, run at Mario Edwards Jr., run at Sheldon Rankins, make Aziz Al-Shaira make one-on-one tackles, make Henry Tolato have one-on-one tackles with Kyron Williams. You know, Kyron, he can bulldoze some linebackers and D tackles. He's got that lightning in a bottle thunder quality to him, if that makes sense. So I would do that. Let's see how good and stout you guys are up the middle and prove it to us that you can stop that. Then how does that unfold after? Well, the play action passing game. When you run it effectively, that will slow down a Daniil Hunter, a Will Anderson Jr., because they have to react to stop the run more than just the quote unquote you hear people say all the time, pin their ears back and just rush right at the quarterback, right? That'll delay them, even if it's just that half a second. That makes a world difference in the NFL on the field. Boom, bang, bang. Oh my God, it happened in a blink of an eye play, like it is every single play. So the play action passing game off of successful run game to neutralize Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. off the edges. That's one way. Another way is how will we call some damn screen passes to the running back and the tight end? We do a good job of throwing outside screens to Nakua and Jay Wood and Tutu, and those work. Not all the time, but we've seen it. Those are good plays. But my thing that has always pissed me off about McVay's offense, and there's plenty of years of recordings here on this channel stating this, and there'll be many games going forward. Well, this will probably not be the case, and I'll be irritated. But let's get some tight end screens involved with Higbee or Parkinson or Davis or young Terrence Ferguson, right? Let's get the tight ends involved in this passing game against Aziz Al-Shair, against their linebacker, and say, can you guys guard us? And then in the screen game specifically, you can let Daniil and Will Anderson try to hunt Matthew Stafford and then whoop, dump it right over their heads to a tight end, to Kyron Williams, who I think is underutilized significantly in the screen game. He can catch a little dump off and weave his way and find the lane. He's good at reading blocks. He's good at finding lanes in open space. Or Blake Corum. That's another way that you neutralize this pass rush is some screen passes. Leave them unblocked. Obviously, we don't want Stafford to get killed immediately, but let them fly in. Make them have to hesitate if they're going all full force. And they're going full force and not respecting anything else, then Well, you just pop it right over their heads for a tight end screen, a running back screen, and that is a great way to neutralize great pass rushers. Again, tight end running back screens, a good run game away from them up the gut, and then, excuse me, a good play action game to make them to hesitate. And if you do that, I think we have a great shot at winning the game offensively. And I think it's that simple, Mark, for the offense. Now, Rams defense versus Texans offense, in my opinion. There's a lot of ways you can go about it, but let's keep it real. The Houston Texans offensive line sucks. I don't think they're good. And maybe sucks a little harsh now as I sit on that word and think about it, but they were bad last year. They didn't make wholesale changes on that old line from last year to now this starting group going into this game against us. Let's pull up that group one more time real quick. So then that would be the rookie Ursi. That would be former Pro Bowler Lincoln Tomlinson, who hasn't looked very good in quite some time. Jake Andrews at center, who's been banged up. Ed Ingram and Titus Howard. All are guys who are not playing good football or have not played good football in a recent season. Let's keep it real. So to keep it simply, can this Rams front four, not even the front five or front seven, can the combination of Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, and Braden Fisk absolutely whoop their ass? And if they do that, then we are going to win this game convincingly. Seriously. But to my point of how can they neutralize us, right? Screen passes, good run game, run right at them. All those things apply to what I said with us against the Texans D applies to ours. Let's be honest. But that's going to be a thing. Can you guys up front whoop their ass like you should? And if they do that, then we'll win this game. But let's just say that doesn't happen, okay? Houston's O-line blocks a lot better. We don't get all these tackles for loss and run stuffs and quarterback hits, sacks, pressures, etc. Okay. Nico Collins is an issue. A healthy Christian Kirk is an issue. And those two rookies from Iowa State, who we think could play some football, they're pretty good too, and including Dalton Schultz, the tight end. So what do you do? Well, we all know that Raheem Morris's defense was always, play very off, play very off, play very off. Luckily with Chris Shula, I don't think that's going to be the case. Let's get up. Let's test these rookies. Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, Akello Witherspoon, Emmanuel Forbes. Let's get physical at the line of scrimmage with these wide receivers. Hey, Nico, can you get off the jam and run your crispy route if Akello Witherspoon gets your hands on you immediately at the line of scrimmage? We'll find out, right? Don't let him run free where you're playing 5 yards off and he's able to break and get momentum. That's not smart. Neither with Christian Kirk out of the slot or these Iowa State rookies, Noel or Higgins. Get your hands on these wide receivers. And what does that do? That buys time for the Rams pass rush to get home to CJ Stroud, right? Because if they're not open right away, which I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, hey, let's quick pass. As let's not forget Nick Haley, our former tight ends coach last year and back. He is their offensive coordinator now for the Houston Texans. So he's going to be like, yeah, let's get the ball out. Let's get a little play action pass, a little West Coast rollout here. Let's just move the chain, get positive yardage in the passing game. Let's not let Jared versus Byron in that front, Kobe, Braden, et cetera, whip our ass like it's looking like on paper. So jam these guys, whether it is man-to-man, whether it is zone, get your hands on these wide receivers, be physical, and that will buy time for the pass rush to beat this inferior offensive line for the Houston Texans. I think if they do that, that would be a major key to victory, and I think they would win the game if they do that, Mark. Again, if they don't already whip Houston front offensive line, I should say.
Yeah, this game could go a lot of different ways, and hopefully, Sean McVay has learned some lessons from the past and has listened to guys like you and Paul pounding about the run game, and we get Kyron rolling, and maybe a little bit of Blake Corum. Could we even see some Jarquez Hunter and get the screen game going? Yeah, you're right. We haven't had as many of those as we had in years past. It seems like we've gotten away from that, and it seems like Higbee now being healthy for the first time, or I think 100% for the first time in a while. Maybe he was at the end of last year. Maybe we'll get back to doing that. And hey, we don't know what Terrence Ferguson brings yet. and that's another exciting part of this game. We may not
Yeah.
see a big impact from him in week 1, but man, it'd be really exciting if we did. I think he's got between him and I think Devontae Adams, who we haven't really talked much about, add elements to this Rams offense that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. And again, of course, use motion to get the wide receivers open. All the standard stuff. Again, we all know that, and we'll break it down for any other opponents. But of course, real quick, to get open against his good secondary, right? Use the motion. Use that motion to make the defense show. All right. Oh, they're following Devontae or Tutu or Puka. It's probably man to man. Are they not following him? Probably zone. That obviously will be a week by week thing, no matter who we play. But that would be one way to get open against a Derek Stingley and that secondary, right? Use that motion, use those natural, lanes that are open from motion a guy, so they are free to run so they are free to not get jammed or get caught up at the line of scrimmage or in that 5-yard cushion where a defensive player can get their hands on a pass catcher. Of course, that'll be a staple. But again, got to win the battle up front, whether that would be offense or defense, and that will, I think, signify who wins or loses this game, right, Mark? Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I think you're muted, my friend.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned 12 personnel. Is that
Well, look
something
at
you'd like?
12 personnel this, 12 personnel that. I mean, I think I'll see when I believe it. I think I'm in that mode and I would love to.
Yeah,
Right. We've been hammering that for years now on this channel. And
right.
yes, would it be good to see more tight ends and run right at this defense? Absolutely. But uh, that I think that all funnels into my run game point earlier. Run in the middle. Let's see if those guys can handle it. And of course, let's test those outside guys in their run game. We know Daniil and Will Anderson Jr. can handle themselves in their run game too. But that and then the play action game, et cetera, et cetera. Whether that be 11 personnel, 12, 13, 14,
Right.
jumbo this, jumbo that, goal line, any of those things, it all kind of filters in together. Run game up the gut, test that, and then play action often have to slow down those edge defenders and even slow down the secondary. I think that's all
Yeah,
together, whatever personnel it would be.
I'm just really interested to see how the Rams personnel-wise attack or how they line up, how they deploy guys. It's not necessarily about this game, but these first few
Yeah.
games. I mean, are we going to see more Terrence Ferguson than Jordan Whittington? Those types of questions, and maybe Jordan guys like Jordan are very effective in the run game as well. So maybe I'm overthinking it. 12 personnel versus 11 personnel with Jordan Whittington. Is there really that much difference? But I'm really curious to see who that after Devontae, Puka, and Tyler, who's next man up in this receiving group, and I have no clue at this point. I really don't.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. And that's why, we don't have a ton of data to share with you guys.
Right.
As the season goes on, we'll have plenty of data, we'll have plenty of film, and we'll be able to give the nitty gritty. But, we're going in blind a little bit, just like the players and coaches are. But I mean, with that, Mark, we got to get into our early score predictions. All right. Here are the Rams up early score predictions. Yes, it is Wednesday. Yes, the injury report isn't final. We don't know exactly who is playing, who is not. As of right now, all the Rams guys are going to be good to go, according to McVay, which is chef's kiss compared to last year. People are hurt. It was a disaster going into the Lions game already. Houston, little beat up at some key spots. Christian Kirk, some of their linemen. We'll see what's up, how healthy CJ Gardner-Johnson is, et cetera, et cetera. We'll find out later. But as of right now, we'll give our early score predictions based on all this info we told you and all the info we know with health. So, Mark, I'll start with you. What is your early score prediction for Rams Texans week 1?
Well, I'm leaning towards a slightly ugly game, at least for stretches. I think both these defenses are going to give these offenses fits. And worth noting, this is probably a good time to dump this. We've Ram fans, we've been struggling with these slow starts by the Rams. Texans have had a similar situation over the last couple of years. 1-6 against the spread as under Ryan's in September. So they struggle early on in the season as well. But I'm
Yeah.
going with I think it's going to come down to the special teams and the kickers, and I'm taking the Rams 23-17. Is that what I gave you?
23-17. I like
17,
that
yeah.
score. I like that score for sure.
Yeah, I would lean more towards, the under, in this game than the over. I think if, I would be more surprised by a high scoring affair than a low scoring one, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I would. That would give me anxiety if it was a high scoring game there at SoFi Stadium because I'm going to be there. If it's a shootout, I'll be like, oh my God, how did this game unfold this way? And I wouldn't be
Yeah.
mad if we won it, but that would be crazy. And, hey, more fun, more drama. I get it. I get it. But my score, everyone, 23-20. I have Houston kicking in one more field goal than Mark's prediction. But with that, Rams Nation, I expect this to be a defensive battle with offensive play showing up every now and then. Let's just be honest. Our defense on paper is good. Their defense on paper is good. We have good pass rushers. They have good pass rushers. We have a solid secondary. They have a good secondary for sure, right? It's that simple. So I don't expect this shootout. If it ends up having that way, crazy. But hey, we'll drive. We'll get our 3 and outs. We'll have to punt. But I do expect, our field goal attempts to be made. Shout out to Cardi. We need you to make all your kicks, please, in this defensive battle we're both predicting here. And then I expect them to drive the ball, get some positive yardage, and then, with their Pro Bowl kicker, hit their field goals. But I think at the end of the day, our offensive personnel is better than theirs, both offensive line, skill players, running back, wide receiver, tight end, the depth, and then we got a future Hall of Fame quarterback. I think that would be the difference. And if everyone keeps Stafford upright for the most part, I think he'll make some big time throws. And I think that would be the main difference in this game, which is why I have them winning narrowly, truthfully, 23-20. But I expect a defensive battle with the offense is both popping in certain moments. And, it'll be a good classic NFL football, man.
Yeah, fun times at SoFi. And on another day, you might think this would be set up for a shootout, maybe. But yeah, I just think that the rest factor coming out of the preseason, and the two teams starting slowly in recent past, I think that all adds up to a little bit of a slugfest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this: shout out to Blaine Grissack of Tertial of Times. If you don't read his articles or follow him on X Twitter, he's got great stats, great articles all the time, great depth analysis for draft. I mean, tons of stuff. Shout out to you, my friend. And he had a tweet today where he said Sean McVay has gone up against D'Amico Ryan's led defenses 5 times in his career. In those 5 games, the Rams are 1-4 and the score is an average of 15 points per game. The
Yeah.
Texans defense right now, or based on last year, was ranked 6th in EPA per play, which is, a really great stat. And of course, that one win being that NFC championship where, we made enough plays to win that offense and defense. But, the history of a D'Amico Ryan's defense against us has not gone well. Has not gone well at all. Now, are they those Super Bowl Niner team, this Houston Texans team? No, I don't think so. Are they pretty dang good? Absolutely. So this will be a tough battle. Nick Haley calling plays for them. He worked on our offensive, side of the building, and he knows what Sean McVay likes, doesn't like, etc. I'm sure that's being filtered in. So this game's going to be a tough one, Rams Nation. And it should be a good one. Exciting, though, right, Mark?
Oh yeah, and man, just get the W and move on to the Titans. And if this makes you feel any better, and I hate to be pessimistic, but if you lose this game, if the Rams lose this game, an interconference game, it's not as painful as a conference game, and they'll move on and take care of the Titans pretty easily the following week, I would hope.
I hope
So
so, yeah.
yeah, I want the W. But it's not the end of the world if we come out slowly and walk out with a loss. I don't expect that to happen, but it's a long season, and we'll get our share of wins. We'll get to 10 wins one way or another. Where it starts, if whether it starts this week or next, we'll have to see.
We shall have to see. I agree, Mark. But hey, it's going to be a battle. Houston could definitely beat us, but we can definitely beat them too. And we have the home field advantage. And I hope to see you out there, Rams Nation. I will be out there with family. Let me know in the comment section. Are you going to be out there? And also let me know in the comment section as well What are your keys to victory to beat the Houston Texans? Whether it's something on offense, something defense, something special teams, a combination of them all, whatever that is, also let me know in the comment section for sure. I love to read them, respond to them, and whether you'll be watching the game on the TV set at home, whether you'll be with the booster clubs tailgating, whether you'll be with booster clubs at watch parties, whether you'll be in Southern California, Northern California, the East Coast, the West Coast, wherever you are on planet Earth, root for your Rams, rep your jerseys, whatever your fun pregame ritual is. I have mine. I'm sure Mark's got his, and I'm sure many of you have your fun stuff as well. Rep your Rams. We can win it. And I'm excited for this season to start.